Commemoration Speech. When I was 6, my sister and I hosted a lemonade stand on the end of our block in front of an elderly man's house. Little did I know the man who lived there would have more of an impact on my life than anyone I have ever met before. One person who represents the value of care the most is my grandpa, Gene. He is the only person I know who would stop anything he was doing at the drop of a hat if he knew I needed something. So today, I'm going to talk about one of the most appreciated men in my life and why he embodies the value of care in his life. I have taken a special interest in the man who lives in the house on the corner. His house is blue with pink shutters, and he only lives with his dog Humbug. All of my grandparents died before I was born, so I never knew what it was like to have one until I met Gene. After church on Sundays, my family goes to a local restaurant named Coffee and Company, and he is always there. He orders a biscuit with honey and butter, and I order a chocolate croissant. After weeks of eating breakfast together, we grew very close. We soon decided that he would be my grandfather and I would be his granddaughter. After that, we became inseparable. When I finish my homework after school, I walk right down to Gene's house until it is dark and my mom calls for me to come home. He tells me stories of his interesting life in the military and all of the friends he has made throughout his experiences. On weekends, Gene would take me to the mall or the zoo and he buys me anything that I ask for. Every time I go somewhere, Gene knows at least half of the people that we see. The nicknames that his friends gave him is Mr. Wonderful because he is genuinely a great person. I know from all of my experience with him that he lives life to the fullest, and his goal is to make sure that all of the people around him are happy at every moment. I later learned that the reason he was never married is because he spent his later years taking care of his mother in her dying age. We grew so close throughout my elementary school years, but when Hurricane Katrina hit, he was put into a nursing home and I was only able to visit once a month because the nursing home was not very close to my house. However, Gene is still my favorite person and I know he enjoys our visits just as much as I do. Sadly, on my 17th birthday, he passed away. However, he will always be one of the most important people I've ever met. Now that I've talked about who I am commemorating, I will now talk about what value he represents to me. The value that represents Gene is care. To me, care means someone who listens, is responsible, and spends time with you. When I was younger, my parents always put me in camps over the summer and after school care when school was out. They worked most of the time in order to provide for me. I love my parents very much, but I knew Gene always had time for me. I could walk to his house whenever I was bored, and he told me all of the crazy stories from his adolescent years. He took me to the mall almost every Saturday and bought me anything I wanted. He wanted to spend his money on me because he knew it would make me happy. Gene loved to see me smile. He listened to all of my elementary school drama, and I knew he cared about every issue that I had. Because I was with him all the time, he felt responsible for me. He made sure that all of my needs were met at every moment. Unfortunately, after Hurricane Katrina, Gene wasn't the same. He started to have heart problems, and he was put into a nursing home. Now it was my turn to care for him. It was my job to visit him once a month, listen to his problems, and be responsible for making sure he's healthy. He always asked me to talk to him about my life because he was uninterested in his own. He wanted to hear all about my new high school, my friends, and experiences. A couple years later, Gene's heart problems got the best of him, and on March 9, 2012, he passed away. That day, I lost one of my best friends. I still visit him once a month at the cemetery, and I talk to him as if he were really listening. I will never forget Gene and all of the valuable lessons he has taught me. So today, I talked about one of the most appreciated men in my life and why he embodies the value of caring in his life. One person who represents the value of care is my grandpa Gene. He is the only person I know who would stop anything he was doing at the drop of a hat if he knew I needed anything. When I was 6, my sister and I hosted a lemonade stand on the end of our block in front of an elderly man's house. Little did I know that man would have more of an impact on my life than anyone that I have ever met before.